Rheaume, baby. Feeling good?
I'm feeling good. Another offseason Friday with waking up to some big news on the Dolphins going. Well, I mean, we already knew it was going to happen, but just to make it official and have the word out there. Though I wish it was a little bit better weather outside. I'm seeing it's like rainy and foggy outside. So I was hoping the weather would be a little better.
Well, do you and Perk have to fight to go to Spain, or will they actually spend the money to send you both?
Well, the precedent for international games is one.
No. Dave Hyde is the guy that has more tenure than both your asses. So what happens there is that you guys play like the short end of the stick stuff, or what's that thing called? The whatever it's called when you pick out the things. Or what do you do? How do you settle that? There's 3 people. Somebody's getting screwed. Is the Sentinel going to spend the kind of money to send 3 people or 2 people or just 1?
Yeah, 3 people is definitely out of the question. We don't do that for any domestic games. So I can tell you that one right now.
That was back in the old days, baby. Back in the old days, they used to send a crew of people. It was awesome back in the day.
Yeah. 2 people is also probably not happening. The precedent in recent years, at least since I've been on the beat, is 1 goes to an international game. We do send 2 on the road still to all the domestic road games. Yeah, in the States.
So who goes? You go because you're the beat guy?
I think that's what would happen. We haven't crossed that bridge yet. So once we get into scheduling it for next season, then we'd break that down. But yeah, as the beat guy in the last few years, and I've had it where I'm going on every road game so that I'm doing the reporting, and then since Perk and Hyde are columnists, then they could write a column from home, and they've also been everywhere in their sports.
No es por nada, chico, pero tú eres el único que habla español.
Sí, eso también, sí. Mis raíces son en España.
¿Me entiendes? No es por nada, pero, papá, tú eres el único que habla español. So, if we're doing the math, okay, Perkins, español, no. Hyde, español, no. Furones, español, sí. Where you're going, español. So, yeah, you want to do both, yeah.
Yes, and David Furones.
Like if I was an editor at a paper, all my baseball writers would have either you learn Spanish or you are from Spanish origin. But if you don't speak Spanish, you would never be a baseball writer for me if I was an editor. That to me, if you don't, that's the one sport that the language barrier will hurt you, because I know I've been on the baseball beat. I was the guy that translated for Livan Hernandez before they got a translator. You know that?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So Livan would have to talk, right? And they didn't have a guy. They hired a guy like within the first month or 2 of the season. Colangelo figured it out that they needed they didn't have a Hispanic PR guy. I think the guy's name was Sarmiento or something like that. I think it was, or something. I forgot the guy's name, but anyway. So I was on that beat that year, and when I would, when he would pitch well, it was on almost every time, pretty much. That everybody would gather around, and then he would answer, and I would have to then translate for all the English beat guys. Like, they didn't know what the hell Livan was saying. Livan didn't know Spanish, and then they figured out, oh shit, we better go get a PR guy, because we don't want the media within themselves translating stuff, and we have no idea what he's saying. You know what I mean? They got to have some control over that. You know what I'm saying? So it's understandable. They had to go get somebody. So it's it. So I had to be the guy, since I was the bilingual guy in the group. Clark Spencer didn't speak Spanish, and I'm trying to remember who were the other guys that were on the beat. Oh God, Mike Berardino. Okay, now we're back. Mike Berardino was on that beat. I'm trying to remember, like, all the guys. They were all English speaking guys. So somebody had to translate. And so that's why I say that I think you got an inside track. I'm just saying. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. You can give the
There
perspective.
was that.
Talk to a Hispanic Dolphins fan. They can't.
Right. I would love to go over there and write a story like that. Like
It's going to
Dolphins
happen.
fans insane. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to
Yeah.
ask you.
Right. If you go there, yeah. Yeah. You're not, right. Everything else, they stream it anyway. So you could just like write it from wherever, your basement. But, you know,
But you're going to have a whole bunch of Dolphin events that week. And Hispanic Dolphin fans are going to be there. And that's going to be your chance to talk to fans that aren't from here. Right. You know, you could talk to Bob and Sports Babe 305 and Dolph Freaky, and you know they're all at all the road games, you know, international, national, whatever. You know, you can see them all the time. But now the Spanish fans, you know, so we're going to try to go too. We're going to try to go.
Right. Oh, excellent! Yeah, that would be great.
I want to see if we go and then try to set ourselves up and broadcast during the week at a Dolphins bar in Madrid. There's got to be one because we have Dolphins bars all over. The team that doesn't win shit is the team that has bars all over the world.
Well, because Miami knows how to throw a party, so that's why.
Like the Heat win titles, and there's no Heat bars in other places.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Different. I think football's different, though.
Well, it's had a shitload of success. Well, actually, there's one in Flagler Beach because we went to it because it's a Dolphins/Canes bar. But again, it's like it's funny. Like, you know, I don't know if Panthers are, you know, they just started, but it's the Dolphins have won nothing, and you can find Dolphin bars all over the world, bro. It is amazing.
Yeah, when I went to Germany a year and a half ago now, in November 2023, that was certainly the case out there, and then met a lot of Dolphins fans that were international. A lot of them from London that just, you know, trekked over to Germany, and going to like a Dolphins bar party there, which my memory of it is that they played the Miami Dolphins touchdown song like once every hour for that party, that Friday watch party there.
I got to tell you, the one I look forward to the most, nothing against Spain or any other stop or whatever, I got to go to an English pub of Dolphin fans. To me, I think that is going to be the best atmosphere that I could think of internationally because they're such great sports fans that I would imagine that they just must be some passionate, crazy mofos in England, bro. I can't wait. I want to do that one day.
Absolutely. And London is one where I haven't been yet because the Dolphins, after all those years where they would get sent to London so often and usually with a home game being lost, I never had those. My first year was the last time they were on the Dolphins beat, was the last time they were in London, and then Dave Hyde got that one. So, since then 2 years later, they get Germany. I was on that one, and then now, hopefully, if everything goes as planned, then I would be the one going to Spain, and which I have family there too in España. My roots are from there, you know. Spain.
Oh, you too? Huh?
Yeah. But like my family, my ancestry went from Spain to Cuba, and then some still in Spain, and some still in Cuba, and then now here. So,
yeah, you know what? I don't even know if I have any family in Spain because obviously that's where my family originates from.
Right.
So I don't know. That'd be interesting. I should look that up and see if there's any kind of my lineage
right
over there. You know what I'm saying? That would be actually is where I'd like to go to that game.
The true pronunciation of your last name is Alzugaray, right?
Alzugaray. Yeah.
Right. With the Z, like the T.
If you're gonna really say it, you know, como un gallego.
Right.
You know, Alzugaray.
Yeah. Alzugaray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In English, it's supposed to be Alzugaray.
Right.
But I Americanize it for people, and
I just walk in between. Yeah.
I just put Alzugaray because people would struggle with it since I was a kid. Right. So I just would tell them Al is an owl, Zoo as an animals, and Gary is in Gary, Indiana, and that's it. Oh, Oh, okay, great. And then that's it, bro. Because some people get all bent out of shape about mispronouncing your name. To me, bro, I don't really give a shit. So I just make it nice and easy for you. Here, bro, Alzugaray. Just leave me alone. You know, just whatever.
Right. Yeah, I don't expect everyone to be saying Furones. Furones is just fine. When you're speaking English, yeah, it's just fine.
Whatever, bro. I don't really give a shit. It doesn't matter to me. It's not going to affect my life in any way, shape, or form. All right, so we just don't know the opponent. Right. But it's not going to be the Bears, right? Because they have the rights. So you usually don't play the other team with the rights. You play, like the Bears will probably be the team that plays the next time in Spain is probably what it is, correct? That's the way I kind of understand it.
Sorry, the volume went a little out. Who were you saying?
The way I understand it is the Bears are the other team that has the rights to Spain. So that tells me it won't be the Bears, the other opponent. The Bears will be the one that plays in Spain the next go around, if it's next year or the year after.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The way I understand it, correct?
Oh, yeah. Well, the Bears aren't a 2025 opponent of the Dolphins in either regard anyway. So then
that's right. The list of opponents is already out. That's right. Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I remember like people think. Oh, actually, people were thinking about when it was the Eagles and Packers in Brazil, people were starting to wonder about whether the Dolphins could get there. But I remember it was already settled. Obviously that the Dolphins were playing the Packers; they weren't playing the Eagles. Or when there was speculation, it could be the Cowboys, and it was already not. Well, the Dolphins don't play the Cowboys last season, so. But I mean. I could see the NFL trying to get one of the premier matchups, and there's a lot of good home games on the Dolphins schedule this year. When you look at it, because the Ravens, the Bengals come to town, the Chargers. Well, we don't know if they come to town, but it's a home game, so one of these is going to go overseas. Could it be the Saints again? Because the Dolphins and Saints have played in London before. Could a Dolphins Saints game get moved over? Dolphins Buccaneers. I mean, could they make an all Florida matchup that it's how many miles? 300 miles away. You can send it overseas. That could be a possibility. Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels. Get to see him. I don't know if it'll be one of the divisional games, but there's also precedent for that with the Dolphins playing the Jets in a London game. So, a lot of good quarterbacks on the Dolphins' home schedule. So, odds are it's going to be a decent matchup that, fans in Miami will lose at Hard Rock Stadium, but it'll be on an international platform in Spain.
I would imagine that they might put it around the bye week, which we don't know yet when the bye week is, right? So that might be also the thing too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's best to have the post. You always used to call it the post-London bye. Now it would be the post-Europe bye because there's so many European sites that the NFL tries to host these games. So that would be ideal for the Dolphins. I know when teams have their schedules laid out, they can make one request to the league. So I would think it would be beneficial to make the post-Spain week the bye to recalibrate after that overseas travel. The Dolphins did it that way when they had it in Germany 2 years ago, had the bye coming back after that. So I think that's the right move. If I believe it's going to be, we don't have the date yet, but if it's a November game like Germany, then that's perfect timing for it. If it's early in the season like they do October with the London games, that's kind of not the best for just setting yourself up for the rest of the season, because then you just have several weeks, like 13, 12 possible weeks in a row where you're just going at it. Probably 11, 12 in that area if you have that early London game and then the bye in October. So similar to how the Dolphins just had it this year. So, but when they played in London against the Jaguars 2021, Dolphins opted against that bye, had a later bye. But then that was when the Dolphins went that 1-7, 7-game losing streak early in the season. Brian Flores' last year came back home, lost to the Falcons on a last-second field goal after losing to the Jaguars in London, and that was not ideal for the team. So I would think coming back would be the best.
By the way, Vincent Bruno makes a good point. How many more kids does Tyreek come back from on this trip to Spain?
Oh boy! Well, the man says now that he has his first child with his wife, he's committed. So Let's see if we can take his word for it on that one.
Committed to what? Committed to disorganization? Committed to lying? Committed to dropping footballs? Committed to what?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm speaking about his woman, so hopefully that part of it at least.
Committed to a rubber room? Committed to what? What's he committed to? I'm not exactly sure. I don't see a commitment to anything except disorganization. He's not committed to any of his women, not to his team, not to his teammates. I mean, I don't know. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, and only months after talking about that he wants to retire with the Dolphins, and how many times he said that, and seeking out those guarantees in his contract on the years that he had. Just a few months later, he's already quitting on his team on week 18. We understand the emotions that are involved in missing the playoffs and losing to the Jets, but I mean, everyone else is out there just playing it out. You got to be out there with your guys. So
he's as unprofessional as he's not a professional, and that's his problem, that he lacks professionalism in every way, shape, and form. And that's always been Tyreek's problem. And that's and unfortunately, when you don't have structure, which this team doesn't have structure, it opens you up to all of this. You know, and that's where. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Wes Welker firing. You know, to me, that's where you bring somebody in to kind of crack the whip, and let them be the bad guy, because I think that's what's going to end up happening. I don't think Mike McDaniel is going to be able to try to be the bad guy now or be the tough guy. That's not going to go over well. Plus, there's no part of him that can play that role. You see his personality. It's not who he is. And it won't come off that way anyways. It'll come off fake.
Right. These players have seen him year upon year now. This is 3 years that they got a good idea of who Mike McDaniel truly is. And he hasn't tried to be that kind of disciplinarian for these 3 seasons, and basically laid it out where, hey, you hire assistant coaches to be that voice, because whatever you are not, then go ahead and have your staff be the ones that watch that unit, and then you don't have to worry about it if it's not truly you as a head coach. So, which, I mean, to his credit, then that you should be able to objectively view yourself that way and say, all right, where I have a void, this is where I need my assistants to fill those voids. But yeah, I mean, I could totally see it where he needs a little bit stronger of a voice to get that unit under control, especially with the personalities that you have. Jalen Waddle is also growing as an NFL player who is now going to be on his second contract, earned that extension. And
Has he grown?
Well, I'm just saying growing as far as now adding years into the league. He actually just had his worst season. Yes.
Yeah, but he isn't growing, actually, period. He's
wrong word I use. Maybe
he's got more tenure.
Yeah, he's becoming more tenured. Yes.
Yeah, which doesn't mean shit, because it's really disappointing for Waddle. He's actually a disappointment now because of the way he has played, considering they've given him the big money and he consistently is dropping footballs. That's a consistent problem for him, and it doesn't matter the quarterback, by the way. Okay? It does not matter who's throwing the ball. He drops footballs in every game practically. And that's a real concern if you're the Miami Dolphins. And you wonder, that atmosphere, Tyreek around, does that create that lackadaisical approach to all of this?
Yeah, I'm sure. That's who Jalen Waddle has had to look up to since he was a year 2 player. And so Jalen Waddle basically had his rookie year, gets the feel for what life is like in the NFL. And then first full off season after that, then he starts to see, we get Tyreek Hill. And okay, this is how the top wide receiver. He was just named number one player by his peers in the NFL going into this past season. Didn't play like it, but this is how that player acts and behaves. So that's his influence now. Not to mention then last season having an Odell Beckham Jr. come in and someone who did not produce at all, but probably had some favorable treatment because of the name that he is and the cachet that he brings along with him. So yeah, that is his influence in the league to this point.
Yeah. All right. So what's the move you think that could shock Dolphins fans this offseason that Miami could make? What's that move? Is
a
there
move
one
that could shock Dolphins fans? I would venture to believe it could come in the draft. I feel like usually that move comes in the draft. I don't think it's going to be too eventful of a free agency. A lot of just economical choices in free agency is what I envision based on how much salary cap is tied up and commitments that the Dolphins have on against the cap. So I would think a lot of just smaller moves there. And when you go into the draft, I feel like Chris Grier always just finds a way where one pick, whether it's going cornerback in Cam Smith in the second round to start the 2023 draft, was it? Or a Jalen Wright as another running back, a second straight year drafting a running back in the middle round. So I think somewhere in the draft, I don't know what it is, and that's why it's going to be a surprise. I don't know what the move will be, but it'll be something where a lot of fans are high on a lot of different prospects in the draft. And then a guy that no one was talking about is selected with maybe the Dolphins. Probably not the first round pick because you kind of have an idea of who the guys are going to be in the first round. But maybe once you get into the second round, maybe somewhere else, just what position they go. That's probably where you end up seeing some surprise. But I couldn't tell you what it is yet because that's why it's got to be a surprise.
Will Chubb be a shocker to you cut on June 1st? Should Dolphins be shocked if he's cut June 1st?
You know, when you first mentioned it, it was kind of like I hadn't even looked too much into that because I didn't really have that in my mindset. But then you laid out a good argument for it. Honestly, I mean, $20 million in cap space that you could save as opposed to June 1 cut. Granted, you can't have now. You can make the move earlier. You can make the move this coming month in February. Well, as far as you just don't have the money yet.
Fiscally, it doesn't help you. You have to make the move where it fiscally helps you.
Yeah. But I'm just saying you can cut him in February as a post June 1 cut. Right. So yeah, that's the only thing. That's the way it was done with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, the last two with which it happened. So you could already know that's happening, and then the player can go seek whatever team in free agency he might be looking into. But the funds aren't available until post June 1, which it wouldn't help pre June 1 anyway. So
they won't need it. They won't. They can. Dude, there was all panic last year, and they didn't even need Tyreek's money, and they made it all happen. And all that. They'll make it happen and they'll be fine without it. They can move money around. That's, it's what they do in football. They're not at the point where they have to pay the credit card yet. It'll be the following season is when it really comes to a head. It starts to really become a real issue for them. Yeah. Real issue for them. So they've got one more year of some flexibility. Not the kind of flexibility they've had in years prior, by the way, but they'll still have enough to get it done this offseason.
Some flexibility.
Yeah, no, but they still have the flexibility to get stuff done, but not what they've had in years past. But that's the plan. That was the plan. That's kind of what it is. This is the window, and now the window starts to close now. So after next season, it starts to close, and it just starts to make it that much harder for you to win. That's why this draft is the most important draft for Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. They have to really nail on picks this year and find guys that instantly help them because you're not going to be able to solve everything in free agency. So you better hit on a couple picks. They better be instant impact players because you need it right away in order to turn the corner.
Right. Because you mentioned flexibility. They'll have some flexibility where maybe, on the first day of free agency, you see one or two contracts of the likes of like a Jordan Brooks that the Dolphins were just able to acquire. Maybe you fill one of your roster holes that way, whether it's a guard, a safety,
a tackle or something. Yeah. You can
that has to be taken care of. So one or two of those will probably get settled with a decent sized contract. But then I think aside from that, then you're looking at a lot of the very cheap, bottom of the barrel, like, look for a Jordan Poyer on a 1 point something million contract. Try to find a Calais Campbell, which was great. And if you can get Calais Campbell back this offseason, that'd be fantastic. But, where you just get them on like a $1+ million deal and then maybe some incentives if you get everything that you aspire out of him. But that's what I mean as far as just like you're not going to go seeing them make a big home run splash in free agency. It'll be just like some smaller moves, one or two intermediate level caliber moves. And then it's just like, minimum contracts with guys that want to be here, guys that want to come to Miami and, maybe play for a Mike McDaniel on offense or play for an Anthony Weaver on defense, guys who really want to join the Dolphins. So that's where and guys who already made their money in their careers and kind of that, making the most out of this free agency isn't what's of the utmost importance to them. That's where you're looking at. And then that's why if the Dolphins do opt for the post June 1 cut on Bradley Chubb, then those $20 million could go a long way towards signing those 10 draft picks, because it's such a deep draft that the Dolphins do need to hit on these picks, because you also get your cheap labor from those draft picks and having them on rookie contracts for 4 years to come, which coincides with a lot of Tua's contract extension, which it becomes more difficult to formulate that roster around a quarterback once he does hit that second contract.
I'm with you there. Hey, don't forget Jeff Welt, Daniel Rheaume. Give them a ring, 954-966-4646. If you're having issues with bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, personal injury, call my guys, Jeff Welt or Daniel Rheaume. Consultations completely free, 954-966-4646. What do you got going on in the Sentinel so folks can check you out, my man?
Yeah, I wrote a couple of features this week on interviews I did with Julian Hill, him dealing with a lot of social media criticism this past year for his play and his penalties and how he deals with that. So go check that out, as well as I posted an interview I did with Elijah Campbell, core special teamer, reserve on defense, and might get thrown into some packages as a third safety. And he feels ready to be a starting safety in this league as he heads into free agency. So that's one of the goals for him. And hey, with the Dolphins having two free agents in Jordan Poyer and Javon Holland, maybe that could be one of your cheap options if they feel he has progressed to the point where he can do that, or at least compete for a starting job next year as a cheaper contract. So go check those out. As well as the news on the Dolphins going to Spain this morning, of course.
I get the feeling Julian Hill's the guy that drops his phone a lot or forgets it or I don't know, just hits delete on accounts or something. I just kind of get that. It's just, was that in your article? Did he talk about how he screws up off the field like he does on the field? I'm just wondering. No?
You're terrible. You're terrible.
Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ catch his terrific work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, have a terrific weekend and hang on to that phone.
I got it.
All right. Hour number 2 is next. Manny Navarro joins us.
This is the Big O Show.